Hello, everyone,
Hello.
and welcome to the next installment, episode 2 of Footy Abroad, here on 4 channels tonight: Blue Abroad YouTube channel, the Swoop Luke YouTube channel, the Saints TV YouTube channel and Facebook page, and the Drewzy YouTube channel.
Facebook
Fellas, what's up?
Yeah. What is going on? What a night. What a night. Ready for it.
Yeah.
You
It's
can
big
feel
time.
it. You can feel it in the air, can't you, boys?
Yeah, it's getting real. Episode 2. The three of us, Luke, Jake, and I, will be here every week. And obviously, as we said last week, we're going to have a rotating guest. So I would like to introduce, and then I would like him to introduce himself and give you all some context of who he is. But the Fremantle, we wanted to give some some of the non-Victorian some love, so there can be no question about the Vic bias. So we've got Drewzy in tonight. Hello, mate.
How we doing? Happy to be here. Love what you guys are doing, and yeah, the direction that this is going. So yeah, pleasure to be here. Let's go.
Yeah. Maybe you can give us some context about, your story, your journey. You've been on YouTube for a long time as well. Where was it? Where is it? Where is it going? Where can we find you?
So yeah, I'm Drewzy. Been making YouTube videos since 2019. After high school, I sort of wanted to work in footy. Didn't know whether I wanted to get into media or the sports science side. So I did sports science at uni. Started making YouTube videos to make a bit of a portfolio. And then 5 years later, met a lot of cool people. I've just moved to Melbourne to pursue it a lot more seriously. I'm an absolute Freo nuffy. Been a Freo member since I was 4 years old. Been to hundreds of games. Seen a lot of losses, a robbery here and there.
You should have been on last. You should have been on last week, mate. Honestly.
Yeah.
No, one of the conditions was do not complain. I'm like, all right. No, I'm over it.
Already.
You can do whatever you like. Go for it. You'll have a lot of people on the Blue Abroad side after you. That's all.
Nah.
Yeah, they attack quick. Trust me, I know.
They're ruthless. No. But no, just happy to be here.
Good. Very good. All right. So what we're going to do is, as we did last week, each of us will bring up what's on our mind for the week, open up the discussion. We'll get those of you in the chat involved as well, if you have something you'd like to add, and we'll go from there. Maybe before we do that, maybe we'll just a quick 1-sentence summary of where each club's at this week. Luke, obviously you had a bye, but some big news this week. So
Yep.
What's the Collingwood story?
Yeah, so I guess the biggest news is Nathan Murphy being medically retired after his 10th concussion in that grand final. It's sad. It's heartbreaking. Someone 57 games, he's been playing since 2018, just being riddled with not only concussions, just injuries. And he goes out. And, from a human perspective, that's the best decision that he can make, that his family can make. And it's a huge weight off their shoulders. But from a footballing and a selfish sort of perspective, his loss is huge for our backline. And you can kind of see it. We're 2 and 3 at the moment. And we really do miss him. We will miss him, but we wish him all the best. And yeah, that's the biggest piece of Collingwood news at the moment, that we're all trying to sort of, wrap our heads around.
Wow. That's wild, man.
Yeah.
That's sobering.
Yeah, sad. Yeah, it really is sad.
Yeah. Jake, what's happening in St Kilda land?
Whew. I don't know. Unsure to be honest, mate. We're in every game. We look like we could win every game. We look like we can lose every game. But I guess we're in it, right? We're in every game, and 12 points combined, 3 losses. Not bad. That's a classic Ross line. Almost pinched it on the weekend. Probably didn't deserve to, but sometimes you can win games you don't deserve to win, and Terry knows that very well. Nah, I could. How did you know that? Sorry, mate. Unsure, but we've got a big opportunity Thursday night against the Doggies. That's going to be make or break for both
huge.
clubs, almost, I reckon. So pumped for that.
I was gonna say, when you were talking about feels like you can win some games and lose at the same time. That's just classic Ross line, man. I feel you there. I've been through it too. So yeah. Crack in with where Freo are at, Terry. Just roll straight in.
let us know what's going on in the Fremantle world. I'm really excited to hear this one.
So many angles I could come at this with, but we've been playing some really good footy. Got unlucky 2 weeks in a row. Need to sort out our forward line. But this week, Sean Darcy back in. Jackson goes forward, provides an aerial threat coming up against our biggest rivals, West Coast, who have just come into good form as well. So yeah, big week. We've dropped 8 points. We could be 5-0. But we're playing good footy, which is the main thing. And hopefully we can pump the wet toast Eagles.
Yeah, nice. Carlton were their own worst enemy. Carlton paid the price for not defending well enough. Carlton paid the price for not being accurate enough, particularly in the second half. Had a few umpiring decisions not go our way, but I was really proud that the fan base didn't use that as an excuse, and we showed some of the other clubs in the league how to actually take accountability. So I'd like to welcome you all.
I can't believe he said that. Hey, can I quickly say something? Was it Owies that had the snap in the last minute or two?
In the third. Oh, as in,
No,
yeah,
in
the one
last.
that came off the side of his foot.
But
Yeah.
can I just say, I feel like Harry Mackay got off very lightly there because that was an easy mark. And I can't believe that they posted the reel about Owies and put all the thing on him. But all the comments are like, Harry Mackay's just dropped a chest mark. That would have iced the game. And everyone said he's running at full pace. He's dropped it. I'm like, I think you can't ignore that and then just jump to Owies. I thought that was a bit unfair on Owies.
Owies, definitely.
Yeah, I'm I'm actually really happy to hear that, because on the fan cams, the criticism, and it is. I mean, people are emotional after a game and they like to point at individuals. It came for Owies and it came for young Ollie Holland, second-year player. None of the leaders.
The leaders.
And can we just say that kind of ties back to what I said last week, where we're very reactionary and we're thinking about, and I used Dom Sheed's goal or Braden Maynard's block as an example, but we didn't look at Jordan De Goey getting pushed out of the way by McGovern. So we don't see, we just look at the Braden Maynard. The same thing with always the Harry Mackay one, the couple down the back as well. We just see that last bit, and that's what we sort of cling to. It's just classic AFL fans, you know. That's what we do. We're all guilty of it.
Yeah,
blaming the umpires instead of blaming Luke Jackson, tapping it back into the corridor. I know exactly what you're talking about, Luke.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah,
I've limited
up. A red hot start already.
Yeah. Something that will never see the light of day is the conversation that Drewzy and I had after the game last week.
That wasn't me. Someone stole my phone, bro. That wasn't me. I went to gather around and I was at that game surrounded by Carlton fans. I got a bit too excited when Kerner missed that shot from the pocket, and I felt it after. They let me know. May or may not have had 1 or 12 beers after to drown my sorrows, but as I said, it was someone else.
Yeah, no, all good. Well, this is so good. I'm like jumping for joy at the moment. Let's go around. Let's talk about what's on our mind. We'll start with Luke. We'll go to Jake. Then we'll go to Drewzy, and then I'll finish up. Luke, what is on your mind this week?
Awesome. So my sort of big topic is, has footy gone soft? Which is what you're sort of hearing from a bunch of the older generation fans, and it's pretty much in relation. This sort of idea started with the Harrison Petty and Ainsworth sort of debacle in the Brisbane game, where Ainsworth did the crying face to I put this book down. Did the crying face to Petty after what he went through a couple of years ago. When he was ridiculed on the field and whatnot. We won't get into that too much. And there was a mixed reaction, both with commentators, with footy fans, and with older footy fans. And there's a lot of people saying, it's fair game. Back in my day, we could do this. Jake Lever comes out and says, I think footy's cleaned up its act a lot. Zorko said that, Ainsworth regretted what he did. If he could have his time back, he would. And I think it's a very interesting point of, has footy gone soft? Because what people are saying at the moment is, we're going woke, this and that. And that's the sort of what I've been sort of seeing, especially with the Finlays and stuff that sort of came out. And, we could have said that back in the 80s, back in the 90s. And we're just as a not even just as an AFL community, but just as people and as humans in 2024, we've moved on from that sort of way of thinking. We're so much more well educated now that why can't we bring that education to the football field? We shouldn't be mocking players. We shouldn't be calling players names or anything like that. And I think that has footy gone woke? Has it gone too soft? It's just such a silly argument, and it's hard to convince people otherwise who have that argument.
Ooh.
It's a tough one.
It's a tough one because
it is.
They are competing in a top competition, and any edge that you can get over your opponent to win the game is very important outside of just the skill itself. I've seen, I think, I don't know who was it, Jimmy Bartell talked about Petty and how, if you don't want to see clowns, don't go to the circus. That's what he said. Yeah. And Petty's put himself out there since that first instigation. I think it was at the Gabba. So if you give it, you got to be ready to get it too.
You do. But I think that there has to be a line. There has to be a line sort of drawn, though. You can't, especially with the, and a big thing is the Finlays and stuff. People on Twitter and people on Facebook, they're saying, oh, we could say that in the 80s. We could say that in the 90s. It's just a word. Get over it. It's just a word. But that word is so harmful to a lot of people and a lot of my friends as well. They're trying to get into the football. They see this happen, and yeah, it was a good punishment that sort of happened. What did he get? 4 weeks or something like that because he self-reported or whatever you want to call it. And people are like, no, it's just a word. And I think, yeah, I know it's like the sort of a big topic at the moment because it's in the limelight. But I think it's something that's really, really important to me personally, and something that I've tried to be better at. Like look, Terry has seen my evolution from 2019 on everything that I've sort of done and I've sort of said, and I'm trying to be better than I was yesterday, and I think that's a big lesson for sort of all of us.
It's so.
Would you suspend players? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
you'd go to that level.
The difference between the Petty incident and the Finlayson incident.
There is, yeah. There is, yeah.
Okay, so with the Petty incident, it's so hard. There's so many competing interests here. We want more access to the game. We want to see more of what happens on the field. But when we don't like what's said on the field, we want to punish. We want to draw the line at what you can and can't say. The line gets blurred every time, and the rules get made by people who are not playing the game, ultimately. And that's the hard part. I mean, I feel like when you play sport, there's just a implied rule. You don't talk about family, deaths. There's this certain, you just know what line not to cross, and it's not black and white. And should he have called him a sook and done that? Probably not, because it was sensitive. But at the same time, I know for me, when I was playing sport, I was a motherfucking asshole. Like I would look for something. Yeah. I would never talk about family or anything like that. But anything I could say that I knew would push your buttons, I would say it again without crossing that line. So it's so hard and it's so easy to say what's right and wrong from this side of the fence, and it's just so difficult to make rules.
No, I agree with you, Terry. Like, I think once you cross over that white line, like there's players that just switch into absolutely different people. Like for you, Luke, Braden Maynard, one of the toughest competitors. 100%. Like imagine all the stuff he'd be saying throughout every game, and then he gets off the field and he's lauded as a nice bloke, he's a great clubman, etc. But I like players expressing themselves on the field and doing what they have to do to get the win. Like Brisbane fans probably would have loved seeing that. They've had a tough start to the season. They get up, their players get confident and start taunting. I liked it a few years ago when Shai Bolton ran into the goal square and shushed. I can't remember who it was. Josh Rochelli doing it against Carlton on the weekend. Like I like that shit. I like players expressing themselves, showing a bit of personality, because like at the end of the day, they're not like just it'd be more weird if they went out there and sort of didn't show emotion and didn't have a bit of arrogance. So yeah, that's my stance on that.
But can I backtrack?
The Eds, yeah, go.
I just need to backtrack to an example. So say not just words, but physical acts. Go back to round 1, 2006. Rui's done his collarbone and he's coming off the ground, and the
I was
Scott
5.
brothers come out and was that 05?
I said I was 5.
Oh, you were 5. Jesus. And he's coming off the ground and he's still on the ground, right? They go up to him and they hit him in that spot where they know he's severely injured. That's not words, but that's an action. Is that poor sportsmanship now? Is that suspendable now?
Sure.
Or is that just they're tough? That's emotion. They're doing everything they can to put their stamp on the game. Is that too far now?
That's poor sportsmanship.
Okay.
If you have someone with a broken collarbone and you go up to him now and hit him, mate, I'd be surprised if your team even picked you next week.
Not that they knew, but he's running off like that. You don't know, but it's implied.
Yeah, that's true. You don't. Yeah.
You know?
I still think it's poor sportsmanship.
Okay.
I think I wouldn't. If Braden Maynard did that to Max King, who had a broken collarbone, and he went up and hit him, I'd call him out. I'd call him out on all of my socials. I'd make a video about it because that's not what we're trying to show the next generation. And the same sort of thing is like when you see, I called, Pendlebury out for that sort of slap to Lockie Neal, the gut punch that Nick Dacos did last year as well. All that stuff should be suspendable for a week. That's not what we should be showing the next generation. It was good in the 80s, amazing. You could have a cigarette at halftime in the 80s and then go and kick 10 goals. You know what I mean? But you can't do that now.
Yeah, it's so hard.
Good point, though.
It's so hard to put it in a rule book because there's always going to be the next new situation. Now what Finlayson, that's no one's really wanted to talk about much of that. But look, fair play to him for owning it. Fair play to the AFL for the sanction, and it just goes to show where we are as a society and what's becoming acceptable and what's not. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it's a non-issue. Now we're drawing a hard line on it and we're setting a standard for it. And, it is what it is. Yeah. Someone's got to be the test case, and that's Finlayson.
Yeah. I doubt it. Yeah. Doubt it happens again, which is good. Stamp it out like Tex Wall, who got 6 weeks as well for his racist comments. So we're on a good trajectory, and I think that human element shouldn't be lost in any of this, which it hasn't been, which is good.
Yeah. It's a hard one. I don't think there isn't a right or wrong answer. I'm curious what the comments are saying, to be honest.
Let's have a look. What do you guys think? Alex Harris, playing as a defender in soccer, I talk the biggest shit to strikers, but never would mention anything that crosses a line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree. If you're investing energy in sledging and being a flog, your mind isn't on the game. I like to think that karma comes back and gets you. It all evens out.
Yeah.
It all evens out. If Brandon Maynard hit a guy in the head who is known to have head injuries, now wearing a helmet, what would you? Well, that's cheeky. That's cheeky.
It's a bit different.
Yeah.
That's
it's very, very different to calling someone a homophobic derogatory term. But
that's cheeky. 30 years ago, it was standard high school taunting. Yeah. Rich is a great man in the Carlton Cheer squad. Really great man. Does a lot for the club. And you're right. It's a changing world, and you like it or you don't like it out there. The world will still keep moving.
Exactly.
So what would you do, Luke? As in, would you write something in the rule book for certain things, or do you keep it as like a gentleman's agreement?
I think you're right. It has to be, you can't write something in the rule book. It's not, like you said, it's not black and white. It's so grey. It's so muddy that it's like you said, there's certain lines that you don't cross. And as soon as you cross it, that's when sort of something happens. And people don't cross it often. So that's why these issues do get blown up, because they're just really one-offs, which is really good. It's so good that these are not happening, every single week, like we see, in the Serie A and stuff, to their sort of players, what they sort of cop, and whole teams walking off the pitch and stuff like that. So we don't see that, which is incredible and amazing. But yeah, you can't you can't rule these things. You rule it case by case.
Gotcha. All right. Oh, okay. Bugs was talking about players with injuries on the ground.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's alluding to the Braden Maynard thing where
He's dancing around
where
that
he,
coffee. Very
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Welcome to Bugs Bell.
Yeah.
We love it. We love it. Okay. Jake, what's on your
Yeah.
mind?
Well, we talked about on field there, and I guess the changing of the guard and the murky areas and the grey areas, and I feel like we hold the players accountable for a lot of things, and we put the attention on them. We put them in the hot seat. We grill them, critique them, hold them accountable. But I don't think the same can be said for, I guess, just general AFL TV media and commentary. And I've got a few dot points here, so I've done a little bit of research, but just little examples on. They're pushing it a bit too far. Maybe they're not doing their research. They're not giving the fans what the fans deserve. So for me, I just popped into my head this one, but even just the Harley Reid fend on Dusty, like the far reaching of that, more so than the fend itself, but it wasn't a fend. Making a story about it. The Dusty Harley Reid, this whole story about him playing against Dusty, I felt like that was a stretch. Dwayne Russell, in his top 5 biggest losers of the round. He didn't have Richmond in there, who got pumped by West Coast at all. He had St Kilda in there, who lost by a point to the ladder leaders. That sort of stuff. It's like, did he watch all the games? How can you possibly do that? Robbo, I think on AFL 360 recently, the other night, he grilled Riley Sanders, who was subbed out of the Doggies game. He was actually really good in that game, Riley. And he was upset. He showed it on the bench. He showed a bit of emotion. What we want from players, we want to see that they care. Instead of, I guess, putting the limelight on him and saying, geez, this kid cares so much. He wants to be on the field. His team's struggling. He's got that sort of attitude to want to do better. Keep playing. He subbed off. He cracks the shits a little bit. And Robbo says, pull your head in. Like, pull your head in. He's a young kid. He's in his first year or whatever. He's having a good game. Why are you putting the attention on him in that way? I feel like we're not holding people like Robbo to any sort of accountability. They can just say whatever they want, regardless of whether he watched the game or not. He just sees that clip of Riley on the bench in a bit of a fuss, and he just says, pull your head in. I know it's a headline, but that links me to my next point. Too many journos are now becoming alarmist journos. You know, there's a special niche for the Kane Cornses of the world. But I feel like that's now filtered through to even some of the best journalists going around, because they just want that shortcut to a headline and not to actually put the time or the effort into doing research and maybe telling the story the way it should be. It might get less views, less clicks, but they kind of, you know, ignore integrity and go towards attention more so than not. So those are kind of my points. I feel like we hold players accountable. I don't feel like we hold the commentary and the media accountable. And that doesn't even get me started on the commentary in terms of special comments. Think of Channel 10. Think of Channel 10, guys. I'm going on a bit of a rant here, but think of Channel 10 bloody Saturday night footy. All right. They play the Holy Grail at the start. Yeah. It gets you pumped up. And then you've got Tim Lane, Stephen Quartermain, Robert Walls, the only special comments guy. They didn't have 10 of them with 16 on the boundary. They had one. And then they had Christy Malthouse on the boundary doing an amazing job. It was a team of 4, and they killed it every Saturday night. Now we've got 2 or 3 main commentators trying to get the Leo Barry moment every play, not actually just commentating the game. They're trying to find their headline, their moment selfishly. And then you've got 6 or 7 special comments, and they're all ex-players of these clubs that they're commentating, and you can see and you can hear their bias. Jack Riot with Richmond. Who else you got? Pavlich with Freo, Selwood with Geelong. You've got Richo with Richmond, and BT, the biggest one with Collingwood. Think of BT. Think of BT when Jack Higgins kicked that goal from the boundary. He ruined it by just complaining about it being out of bounds the whole time.
BT does that all the time, though.
But not being in the moment and impartial, which is his job.
Yeah, that's true.
He didn't do that. And that's why we had to listen to Luke Darcy's Triple M version, because he was actually impartial and called it as a great goal and possibly goal of the year. Not, it was out of bounds. It's a controversy.
I think you make good points about like commentary bias. I will say Pav is very unbiased because I feel like he's a newsreader, so he has learnt, like, if you watch a WA game, Pav, like, you wouldn't know that Pav had played for Freo if you listened to a Freo game with Pav commentating on it. But 100%, like, when you watch like the Premier League or whatever, there's like 2 commentators, and it's like such a nice listen. When you have like 3 play-by-play commentators with 2 special comments and then 1 on the boundary, it's like, I don't know, it's a bit over the top. And yeah, like, you can definitely, especially as like a smaller club, you can definitely feel the bias in games. Like when you're coming up against like a Carlton or a Collingwood or a Richmond or just any Melbourne team, to be honest, over the years, like, it's almost like they're willing that team to go and win rather than saying like
for sure
what is happening in the game and painting a good picture for the neutral or whatever it is. Like, there's definitely great commentators out there, but I think AFL commentary is definitely in need of a shake up and a new look. And like, we're all here as fan cams, and I think, like, I don't know, in years to come, like, maybe that's the direction that like this field that we're working in could benefit from. But then we'd all be speaking on our clubs and we'd all be biased anyway. So I don't know.
And we're not biased here at all, are we, boys? Come on.
No, not now.
Nah.
Speak for
But
yourself.
I didn't mention Joey, by the way. Did you notice that? I didn't mention Joey commentating. Just left him out.
No,
but
it's a good point that you bring up. Like, especially the state of commentary, even in the grand final. Like, if you think back, just the Collingwood grand final, Steele's side bottom lines up for a goal. We're only up by a couple of points or whatever it is. 55 meters out, last quarter, he's lining up, kicks it, the longest kick this guy has ever done in his whole entire life. And Brayshaw just goes, wowee. And then that's it. Wowee. That's it. And then you have to tune into SEN. You have to tune into 3AW, ABC, because those guys, they care more about the game than themselves. Like, you put a good point, Jack, where they are looking for that Leo Barry U star moment, especially the Channel 7 and sometimes the Fox Footy commentators. But if you listen to the grand final with Dwayne Russell, he's crying at the end of it because he loved the game, you know. But you're not getting that from BT. You're not getting that from Brayshaw. It needs a major overhaul because when Drewzy said the Premier League, you know, I watch Premier League all the time. 2 dudes, and sometimes I love when I'm watching the game, they don't have to say anything, and you're just hearing the fans. You're just hearing the ball getting kicked around. You're hearing the sounds of the ground, the guys shouting, and it's just beautiful. If that happened in the football and the guys are handballing it, BT's going to Brayshaw, so what kind of sausage do you like? You like the pork or the chicken ones better? Like, what are you talking about? You don't have to fill dead air. Just let me listen to the game.
that's what I loved about Fox Footy back in the day. You could hit the red button and it would take the commentators off and you would just hear the stadium audio. Do you remember that? That's the sort of stuff that you're like, those little features, they could still have that now and it wouldn't cost them anything extra.
Yep.
That atmosphere that you get at home.
There's a lot to get through here, so I was writing things down so I wouldn't.
Sorry,
forget
mate.
them.
I know I had about 20 points there. I apologize.
No, okay.
Apologize.
Get it off
Very
your
passionate.
chest, brother.
Very
Get it
passionate.
off your chest.
So one of your points was around holding the media accountable. You should tune in Fridays, 5 or 6 p.m. We have a new show called Media Watch, and we do exactly that. We go through. So, for example, we highlight things like this. So Sam Walsh played on the weekend, which was the 14th, I believe, or 13th of April. 14th. On the 13th of March, this is what was said about him.
Sam Walsh, I was told by someone at Carlton last week that, watching him run is like watching an old man run. Next week is crunch time.
Can you imagine what the fan base did on the 13th of March when they heard that?
That would have went, that's crazy. And then to do that a month later.
You know? So
What a shit analogy. That sucks.
Yeah, we basically we take these little clips, we look at articles, we look at clickbait for all clubs, not just Carlton, and then we like to play this sound.
That's where that's from. I was wondering where the hell that was from.
Yeah. So
that's
so,
all.
Let me come to the defense here of all these people. Like,
please.
You're supposed to agree with us when you get on this show, mate. What are you doing?
Nah, come on. Like,
Go on.
we all know, like, when you film a lot of content, like, you're gonna slip up, you're gonna say some stupid shit, and like, I don't know, like, I'd say a vast majority of what most commentators say for some part, like Mitch Cleary, I like listening to what he has to say, but he says something like that. So I don't know, have a little bit of slack, but at the same time, it's, you know, you got to hold him to account. I agree.
I think when you are paid and you are a professional, you
Mhm.
have a duty. And I mean, it all comes down to what is journalism? Like,
Yeah.
what is journalism? Like, are you there to report the facts, or are you there to add to the fear mongering? Now, you know what? There is this other element of you're a paid employee, and if you can prove that you can bring in more attention, views, whatever, then
Worth more.
within the four walls of those organizations, you're going to be rewarded. So, you know what? If you're willing to cop a little bit of backlash from the people online who you don't really give a shit about anyway, then like fair play to them. That doesn't mean we're not going to call it out.
Yeah.
So, you know, I get it. I get the game, and everyone's got to eat, and everyone's got to do what they've got to do to eat. I just think you don't need to lose your ethics to do it. That's all.
So what are your views on Kane Cornes and what he does then? Everyone.
Kane Cornes is like an American version. He's trying to he's basically bringing American style of journalism, footy journalism or sports journalism to Australia. He likes
Stephen A. Cornes.
He's Piers Morgan. He's Piers Morgan of the AFL
he likes
world.
to ask the question that's going to get a reaction. He knows if he mentions Collingwood, Carlton in a certain way, he's going to get a reaction. And you know,
yeah, he did it last year when Max King was injured. He said St Kilda's season is over, and that was in December when he was injured before we even started the season. He said they're done. He didn't even say they might be done. He said they're done.
wow.
Kane Cornes goes really early on things. Like, he will make, I don't know, a mountain out of a molehill, I suppose. Like, last year, Alex Pearce, like, he is a disgraceful captain for the Fremantle Dockers, yada yada yada. Fast forward a year when he's got a year under his belt and he's been the best fullback in the league. Luke Jackson is not a forward. You got to play Luke Jackson in the ruck. It's like when Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson play out, scoring average goes up by 3-4 goals. But like, yeah, I don't know. He grabs the headline of the week, like, makes it massive, and then sort of, I suppose he just forgets about it later on.
That's legit his job, though. And that was what I was saying with the alarmist. He created that niche, and now I think people see that it pays and they want to do it. And that just brings me to my last point. Luke Darcy had him on as a guest, I think last week or the week before on Triple M or something. And Luke Darcy basically called him out and said, you've made a career out of talking bullshit, essentially, and it gets you paid very well. I found it quite contradictory that was it then Caroline Wilson on Footy Classified came out and she called out Luke Darcy when she does essentially what Kane Cornes does as well.
Yeah.
And I thought, very interesting, Caroline. You literally do what Kane does every Monday night or whenever the show is. It is his job, and Luke Darcy's simply just calling it out, but she said Luke Darcy was being disrespectful. Is he not just saying what everyone's thinking about Kane?
I thought it was just another example of how cringe the footy media world can be when they make it about themselves and not about the game. Like, that whole segment was just them bickering at each other, like cross network bickering. And it's like,
should be off air.
You're pathetic. You're all pathetic.
I didn't say that. You did.
No, it was disappointing. It's like, it's unprofessional. What are you all doing? You're like airing your bickering, and then like you're in each other's pockets at events, and then you're not in each other's pockets on air. Like, it's all gross.
It's like they agreed off air. Let's just make this story, blow it up for a week, and let's all benefit from it somehow. Caroline looks good because she's backing Kane. Kane gets more airtime. It was probably Kane's idea, to be honest. You know, like, he's the mastermind behind it all. But
there was
I don't know what the solution.
Well, there was also something you mentioned there, Jake, around the bias commentary, BT and all of that, which on the one hand, we don't want robots. We want a little bit of bias commentary. But I think it actually reveals a deeper point. How's the industry developing new commentators? Like, is
That's
that a
the thing.
pathway for someone that
That's-
wants to go to uni and study it,
That's
or
exactly
like
right. Media.
what is the
There's so many
pathway?
media students. I did media and journalism and sports media. Is it easy enough for me to climb the ranks? Do I have to go through the VFL or like what's the gateway, like you say, the pathway to getting the full-time job in the commentary box at Triple M? That should be an option.
What happened was, let's be honest, Triple M was the king of footy commentary at one point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
BT, JB, it was the best. The Saturday rub, Saturday morning, it was so funny. And that just kind of was like Channel 7's opportunity to say, all right, where's the best talent right now? Well, it's on Triple M. So they've got JB and BT. Everyone runs their course. You're hot until people want the next thing. And I think we're at that point where we want the next big commentators. And it's like, who's coming through from beneath? Where is the pathway? Who are they? Where are they?
Mhm. Yeah,
W-
and it's funny
w-
because
w-
BT, sorry mate, but BT and Brayshaw on Triple M versus on 7, they're completely different. Listen to them. The way they commentate is completely different.
We're seeing like someone mentioned Matt Hill coming through, which is good. Jason Bennett as well does a really good job. But these guys, there's not a lot of them. And you're right, there needs to be a pathway. We're talking about it off air that even umpiring is still not a full-time job. You know, so if they can't even get a pathway for that yet, you know, they're not thinking about commentary, because you're right. What happens in, you know, there's no way BT is going to be on there for the next 15 years commentating. He's no committee or McAvaney or anything like that. So how can he be on there, and who's going to be the next thing? And we just don't see that yet.
I will say this: Roaming Brian is elite television.
Oh, geez,
To do that live on the fly, on the cuff, you don't know what it's
ballsy.
so difficult to do. Yeah. It's like you're waiting for this train wreck to happen. And it never comes.
Yeah.
Isn't that where he got the idea? Was it a Formula One guy? I can't remember the actual commentator, but he would walk through pit lane and try to interview all the drivers, and none of them would respond to him. And he would just be, hey, how's it going? And there'd be a celebrity there, and he'd go up to the celebrity, and then the celebrity wouldn't respond to him, and they'd say, get stuffed. And that's a 5-minute segment, and everyone couldn't look away because of the fact that he just never got the interview that he was looking for, and it was hilarious. That's where BT got the idea for Roaming Brian.
It makes sense, because the other day he did a roaming after the Brisbane game, and he couldn't find a player, and he ended up interviewing these two older people, and he's just like, oh, who are you? You're in the Collingwood room. Who are you? And he's like, oh, we're Craig McRae's parents. He's like, oh, what did you guys have for lunch today? He's like, what's going on, bro? So it's cringeworthy, but you do get addicted to it. You do get addicted to it.
Speaking about the pathways into commentary and that side of things, I think the best pathway these days is to make a YouTube channel and like just grow your audience and get attention that way. Like, speaking of going off on the fly, Roaming has 17-year-old kid, has more potential to make it big in this industry than anyone. And he, like, you speak to him and he's just walking content. I love that kid. I started making footy videos because I wanted to be a footy commentator, and all throughout like growing up, I always said I wanted to be a footy commentator. And everyone always told me, oh, you won't be a footy commentator. It's too hard. Like, you know, it's always ex-football players, which is true. But I reckon there'll be a gap in the market that opens up with time and with enough effort and enough mastering of the craft. But yeah, like, I don't know how you get there traditionally. But yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's no more excuse around, oh, you know, there wasn't a course that I could take. You create your own world now if you want to. So whether it's Drewzy, whether it's you or whoever it is, like, if you really want to be a special comments guy during a game and do play-by-play, why don't you do watch-alongs doing the play-by-play for the next 5 years every week? Like, why wouldn't you do that? So that, I think, is the solution. The issue is, I mean, you got to teach professional standards as well. So there needs to be some, like, there's no governance around this. It's just anyone can start a YouTube channel. And the people that tune in will determine whether or not it's successful or not. So it's tricky, but yeah, there is definitely room for another group of people to be a part of the footy media world.
At the same time, like, attention is like probably the most valuable currency in today's age. And like if BT and Brayshaw and all these guys on Fox Sports or whatever continue to like not be engaging with the audience or not entertaining, like naturally over time, the better guys that, you know, live stream it, do watch alongs or whatever, like they will get the attention and they will get like rewarded down the track, I think. Whether that in the commentary box for Fox Footy, I don't think so, but I think a point that you want to touch on later, Terry, is like, where do we see this going in 5 years? And I think like just having fresher looks at it and people that do it differently is definitely like a big area that we could go into. Like I commentated the Freo Port game with a young kid called UCAT the other night. That kid can do play like it's nothing, and he's 16 as well. So yeah, like if you're good enough people will pay attention, I think.
Love it.
Good
Is
topic.
that all, Jake? Was that the crux of?
Yeah. Sorry, my cat's bloody annoying me. Yeah, that's.
I can see the tail in the background.
I know he somehow opened the bloody door. It's bloody piss off, mate. He's gonna unplug something. I can feel it. No, that's
Drewzy.
everything. Yeah, pretty much just talking. You guys covered it all, so thanks for that. It was very good.
Good. Great topics. Drewzy, what is on your mind?
Right. So back to footy, right? So I was just thinking like the game evolves, right? There's different styles that win premierships. So for example, with Richmond, there was a lot of territory footy, get the ball forward, bring pressure, cause a turnover and score goals. That's what they were so good for. Hawthorn were a very possession-based side, love the short kick and sort of, possession-based. Sweep Luke's boys, Collingwood last year, it was very chaotic. It was a lot of corridor footy, bite off the inside kick and take the game on and back that we have enough talent to get the job done. But you're already seeing like Collingwood start turning the ball over more. They can't bring their pressure, and they're like at the moment not in the premiership picture. Whereas 12 months ago they were red hot, or even less than 12 months ago. So I wanted to ask you guys, from what you've seen so far this season, what do you think is the style that stacks up most? And where do you think your teams are maybe bringing it in a good area and where you're not bringing it? So I suppose I'll start. It's a hard answer to give as like a one answer. Like you can't just say like, oh, be good at stoppages and win games.
No.
I think so. I think approach this question from your own club's point of view. I think Freo's ground defense is elite. Like we are the best defensive team in the AFL for points against at this point in the season. And it reminds me of that Melbourne Premiership side where when the other team has the ball, you look, the corridor's blocked off. Long down the line is just the only option you really have. And then that forces the team to go long down the line, get a ball up, get a stoppage, and that's how you turn the ball over. I think turning the ball over high up the field is becoming really important. Pressure racks, getting it deep into your 50. I don't actually know the answer to my own question that I'm asking. But yeah, like, I don't know, like GWS, they're looking red hot at the moment. They're doing something really good. I think the way that they move the ball through the middle of the ground is similar to what Collingwood were doing it last year with a little bit less chaos. So yeah, I'll throw it to you, Terry. What do you think is the premiership winning formula in 2024?
In 2024? Well, I don't know yet. We don't know yet. It's too early for me to give the answer.
Great. Let's just skip me then. We'll just skip me.
But
No, I reckon there's something though.
No, I think Vossi was asked this question very early days when he became coach of the club. And then they asked him around like the trends, where do you see the game going? And what he said still rings true to me. He said, you may have outliers in certain years, but at the end of the day, fundamentally, over the course of time, more often than not, how you are with your pressure and how you are, how hard you are at the contest is what will determine who wins the flag. So how much of that will that be this year? I think the turnover game's been spoken about, particularly with Carlton, because we didn't really have one much last year, and now we've gotten better at it, but our contest and our stoppages has taken a bit of a hit. So it's a bit of a balance. But this year, so hard to say. It's so hard to say. I think the team that is harder for longer in finals wins the flag.
Yeah.
I thought Collingwood last year had this magic with their belief. in each other and their connection with each other. I think they did have a very high pressure gauge. Thought their contest was good, and I just thought they had this alignment with their fans and the energy in the stadium as well, which is what got them over the line. So that's where I sit.
Oh, it's a tough one. I think, at least for the early season stuff, I think Ross Lyon was onto running and having a very good running capacity across the team. I think it took kind of what Collingwood was doing, but maybe amp it up a little bit, and have very effective half-backers. I think even GWS, like I watched them on the weekend live, the way they transition off half-back through to the forward line is the cleanest in the AFL. Now, whether that stacks up in finals under pressure, under teams coming at them, because we put that on them in the last quarter, they crumbled a little bit. But when you don't give them that, I guess that pressure, they cut you open. Sydney as well do that. So I think it's a sort of, they never completely change. Like Richmond 17 to 20, people kind of wanted to play that frantic sort of football. We always take what the last Premier did and kind of evolve it very slightly. So I think a lot of teams are trying to play that high handball, high transition game off halfback. And that's like that's the way Collingwood played last year. But it's just a little bit different. So whether that stacks up again in finals remains to be seen. But I think at least from what I've seen from the top teams, they are running. Like, I know it's easy to say every team runs, but you do notice the difference about like effective running and then just running for the sake of it. The doggies, they run. But Freo, GWS, Sydney, Geelong, they run both ways hard. And when they get the ball, they keep it in motion. So I think top line, that's kind of, at least from my view, that's where I think the best teams are. And Brisbane didn't do that in the first 4 weeks, and they've done it the last 2. And look what happens. They win 2 games.
I've definitely noticed what you've said there, like the ability to endure 4 quarters. Freo noted that they've had the biggest off season that we've ever had. Like done so many extras in the gym and with the conditioning and that side of things. And we played like one of the worst games on the eye against Adelaide a few weeks ago on Good Friday. It was pretty well noted that it was just like a scrappy game. All that won us that game was our ability to be there in the fourth quarter. Like it was contested, it was tough, high turnovers, but we could run out the game. And I think like maybe where the advantage has come from early on in the season, at least, is like sides like Collingwood and Brisbane that have had a slow start. Obviously they start their preseason later, right? So yeah, like that's just something I've noticed from a Freo point of view. But yeah, what do you reckon, Luke?
Yeah, like from a Pies point of view, seeing what we were able to do last year, and Jake, you bring up the point where even Ross Lyon after the game said, you look to the Premiers. Obviously, everyone does the Premiers and see what they do and see if you can do it better or see if you can take something off them. And the pressure that we were able to sort of instill in every single game last season, like we won 3 finals all up by 12 points or whatever it was. Because you look back at the Melbourne game, we were able, and the GWS game, we were able to close off any goals for the last 5 or 6 minutes. And even the Brisbane game as well. It was just coming to ground, pressure, numbers around the contest. And that was our bread and butter. And the first 3 weeks, we don't see that at all. GWS come and they cut off our corridor. They cut off our run off halfback. Sydney do the same. St Kilda was so-and-so. We were kind of there with the Saints. Then they sort of ran away from us. But then the Brisbane game, something clicked in us saying, hang on, why can't we just do what we were doing last season? And we were getting 2 to 3 players tackling one Brisbane player. We were getting contested ball around the ground. Our turnover game that we were only scoring, I think it was like 20 or something points for the first 3 games. We're kicking, 40 or so off Brisbane turnovers, off clearances. So I think, yes, running off halfback, and you're seeing everyone sort of do that. Like Jake, you said it, everyone's sort of doing that. And you need to have good halfbackers to sort of, break through and go long. But that pressure game, being able to kill the contest when you need to, we saw it work for us. And I dare say that's what people or teams, are going to sort of emulate all the way through, and what we're trying to get back. Because even like the Hawthorn game, we were just able to kill it for 3 or 4 minutes because that was just muscle memory. So if you're high pressure, like the Blues are doing to start the season, I think it's a high pressure team that wins. I know it's pretty stupid because everyone sort of wants to get high pressure, but that's going to kind of be the DNA of the Premiers this year.
Yeah.
It's like we always try and find, well, the media will try and find like the anomaly every year. But at the end of the day, most Premiership teams do the fundamentals better than the rest of the competition for longer. Most.
That's it. Yeah.
Like, you know,
Was it they posted the classic Premiership window graph this morning? Did you see that on Fox Footy? And who was in there? It was two teams in there. Yeah, it was
Geelong and Port.
Geelong and Port probably wouldn't be my two grand finalists right now, to be honest. I think I mean, I know what the graph is. It's, attacking and defending. I mean, I think you've got to be at least top 6 in both, to be honest. What was Pies' attack and defense last year, Luke?
I think we were top 4 or top 3 last year. We were pretty high up. I think we had the best defense in the league going into the finals.
The best defense? Weren't we number 1?
No, I think we
points against. I thought we were the least.
Points against. I thought we were pretty. I thought we were pretty up there. Or maybe
probably,
that was the whole game, the whole season with finals in general.
Yeah, maybe.
But we had really good. Obviously, we had a really good defense. But this one, that Premiership window stuff, didn't. Geelong just smashed North by 70 points, and didn't Port smash West Coast recently? Was it West Coast or some?
They had West Coast a few weeks back.
They had West Coast round 1. But why couldn't it be Port? To be honest, like Port are right there for me. Like they're easy to just write off.
I think it's because every year we say the same thing. And like we just need to skip to finals to see if they can actually match it. And there's no point. No one should write anything good about them until the first week of finals, or even the second week if they get through. It's the same. Go back to round 8 or 9 every season, and they're in the calculations.
Yep.
And that's the frustration with Hinkley. It's the frustration with Port fans. Ask them. They know this too well.
I'm very good friends with Anthony, the Port pair.
Yeah.
And like, if we're talking about all these things, right? So like the importance of half-backs. Look at their half-back line or their back line in general. Alir, Radagalia, Zerkdash are great interceptors. Farrell provides great run. Dan Houston provides great run. In the middle of the park, Rosie, Butters, Horn, Francis, Willem, Drew. They don't stop running all day, providing pressure. Massive key forwards that take big marks all day, and then they've got Power Pepper and Willie Rioli providing pressure at ground level. I think Port are as good a chance to win it this year than anyone.
Absolutely, yeah. If they win a final, that's kind of when.
Yeah,
that's when.
I think this year feels different for me with Port Adelaide. I think like when you got to back a coach as well, right?
Yeah.
Like we're so quick as fans when shit hits the fan to blame the coach and say sack the coach or whatever. But the fact that they've backed Ken in and the fact that they've looked pretty much like a top 4 side all this year, like you said, let's see it in finals. But like I would be paying as much attention to Port Adelaide as any side in the comp right now.
Who's the best team they've beaten this year so far?
Freo, definitely Freo.
and now everyone else.
So they
Who's the best
just
team they've beaten?
Yeah, flogged Essendon.
It might actually be Freo. Actually, are we talking about Port? Yeah, it might actually be.
Yeah,
Freo.
Is that their best win? Again, yeah,
I'd say so, but that's like the best side in the AFL. So that
they played. Was it their hardest game was against Melbourne, and they lost that, didn't they?
Yeah, but the XG in that games was ridiculous. Like 9 times out of 10, they win that. Yeah. But anyway.
But that's kind of the point, isn't it? When they play the top teams, the very top tier teams, they don't quite have what it takes.
Yeah.
That's kind of my point. But yeah, no, they're going very well. Definitely better than the Saints right now.
I'm Team Port. I love Port.
And their midfield is ridiculous, man.
It is. Horn Francis. Whew.
They all work so well with each other. Like they all bring such great attributes that the other ones don't exactly attain. So yeah, they're a treat to watch Port Adelaide. Not on the weekend, but usually they're all right.
We've got them in 2 weeks, so we'll see how we go.
Is that at Adelaide?
Yeah, it'll be in. I think it's Friday night, a couple of weeks. Yeah, should be interesting.
Prime time Saints footy. Wow,
Thursday night. We've got another Thursday night. I don't know what's going on.
Mate,
I preferred Sunday. I preferred having a full week to prep with content. Now I've got like 3 days. Yeah. I don't know how you do it, Luke, honestly.
It's good, man. It's good. You'll get used to it when Saints starts getting those Friday nights again.
Yeah. Bring it on.
Terry, your topic now, mate.
Yeah, my topic. So it's more of a reflection and a projection. So I'm glad we got Drewzy on this week because I think when we all started, Drewzy was in existence. In fact, I know he was. So I guess my question is to just maybe reflect on your experience so far running a YouTube channel, a fan channel, and then I guess looking ahead, like what does this look like in 5 years, 10 years, in your view? Like where does it go? Like, so basically what has happened and where is it going?
We've seen the emergence of
No,
Like,
go
do you
ahead.
wanna
Go
go
ahead,
first?
man. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know.
Guess
Like
first.
this was inevitable. Like the emergence of digital content creators that aren't in the mainstream. It was always going to happen. And like you guys are very much motivated by like Arsenal Fan TV and that side of the Premier League, which is like you guys have spoken about in that first episode. So that's like has been a massive inspiration for me starting my channel, Copper 90, Football Daily, like Full Time Devils and that sort of thing, the Man United fan channel. So yeah, like it was just a matter of time. You just hope that the sort of mainstream in Australia can see the value that content creators can bring. Like you were saying before, Terry, there does have to be a standard to it. You can't just be, screaming Freo were robbed continuously and expect to be put on Fox Footy on the weekend. But like as I was saying before, like we all have channels, like your guys' Instagram pages and stuff have massive followings. And I think once the AFL can realize how valuable like the attention of the fans are and be able to channel that in a way that makes sense for them and can potentially make it more monetized for us as creators, it could lead to very cool things. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I think as long as we keep producing high quality content and consistently produce high quality content, like let's just see where it goes. Like think about where you all were 5 years ago to now, and I think it just sort of compounds with time.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good. No, that's I was just saying wait for someone to talk. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And yeah, I was really inspired by this Man City fan channel, esteemed company. And when I sort of started, so it was early 2019, so just after the 2018 grand final. I didn't know footy. I think Terry, you might have been doing your stuff since 2018. Is that correct? Yeah. So I didn't know any football content thing on YouTube existed. I never searched it, never seen like AFL Central or any of these guys on Instagram. I just wasn't into it. And then I started this thing going, oh, sweet. This is a niche. No one's doing it. Let me try and get something. And then everyone and then you start seeing all these people and connecting. And it's beautiful just to see from what it was 5 years ago to see it now. But esteemed company who I sort of based my whole sort of model on when I started, brilliant dude. And the EPL do it so differently where they really want to engage their content creators. Esteemed company, he's on Sky Sports. He's doing ads for Man City. Like he did. They did. I think when we were playing Liverpool, they did like a 2-minute. This is our city sort of. This is the rivalries. And he was the main guy. Like there's heaps of other Manchester City channels and stuff. Fan channels, but this guy, Sky Sports is talking to him. He's working with Manchester City. He's at the end of every Man City game, they do this like Manchester City lounge where it's just some ex-players and media pundits sort of talking about the game, and he's on there. Like they have a path. We talk about career pathways. They have a pathway for these content creators where it's not just him sitting in his English flat, talking to the camera and talking to his followers. He's actually made a career out of it with the help of all these other people. And I'm not to say, we sort of deserve that. Like we should be on there. But it's good to see that these. I don't really know much about the US and then what they're sort of doing with their content creators. But it's good to see that Arsenal Fan TV and all those sort of things. They're big dogs. They're throwing them a bone, and we don't get that a lot. Actually, Terry, you do it with you just interviewed one of the guys from Carlton, which is really cool. Jake, you guys went into the media room interviewing people last season and stuff like that. I had a chat with Dan McStay in the finals, so it's good. But I think in 5 years' time, I want to see every club have a channel. I don't care if it's got 30 subscribers or not. I want to see someone talking about Tasmania, and what they're bringing to the draft and stuff like that in 5 years' time. But I also want to see, maybe not us, maybe where the pillars that people stand on, like our sort of the next gen, use us to leapfrog into the next, Sky Sports or whatever, Fox Sports or whatever it may be. I'd love to see content creators in 5 years' time on TV and be like, wow, we did it. Like we helped this. I just want to be, I want that to be our legacy, where we just help these next generation, maybe us, but there's definitely this next generation get to where they want to be.
Yeah, I would be repeating everyone if I said my thoughts. So you've covered it all, but like at least from my perspective, it's 5 years. I started in 2018 in my bedroom. AFTV, I did some Arsenal content anyway before that. I did reviews at 3 a.m. in the morning, so that was kind of already a thing, at least in the UK. I'm just curious about, especially you boys' opinions on this, but have we reached sort of almost a tipping point where we can do only so much until that bone is really thrown? How much can we, because we can't, like for me, Fox Footy should have at least one show where it's just Fox Fan Footy or something. Like as simple as that at 9 p.m. The graveyard slot, but start somewhere. ABC, whatever, SBS, there's so many opportunities for that. We can only do so much. So, I'll be, if we win on Thursday night, I'll be in the rooms. I'll be interviewing players. That's awesome. That's from club level. I guess we're talking that big bone from AFL level. And I guess we are the pillars, but also the people like Caden. He is really the big pillar because he is tapped into that market, right? He is in the AFL world, but it's on him and on other people that are already in that landscape. Even Marmalade do it a little bit already. I can't name too many others, but there's only a couple really where it's really, that's the door sort of opening. But how much more can we do? Do we try and create our own, obviously the show that we're doing now is part of that, kind of really re-engaging multiple audiences at the same time and creating its own sort of TV show, I suppose. But how much more can we do outside of what we already do to break that door down? Are we more reliant on the AFL now than we were 5 years ago when we started?
To break the door down, you've got to do something that hasn't been done. Like, for example, when we were off air, I was talking before about like the content that Caden started to produce, like the local footy vlogs, getting a bunch of creators involved. That is the sort of stuff that gets attention, that drives views on TikTok. And then once the whole footy algorithm is hooked on that thing, that's when you start to get the invites from the big dogs. So I just think we can keep talking about game to game. And at the moment, to be honest, I'm struggling to think of new ideas with my content. Like I've been doing pretty much the same formula all the way up until 9K. And I feel like every subscriber on my channel, I've rinsed the towel absolutely dry to get sort of thing. Yeah. So I think it almost takes you having to step out of the box. There's a concept like 0 to 1. You have to create something that hasn't been created before. And I think that's sort of when you get recognized. But like all this stuff we're doing at the moment, I feel like is sort of training and upskilling yourself. So when you do take that next step, you're ready for it.
Yeah. I have a different view. I think it's less about creating something new, and it's almost like a race to 10 years or 20 years. Like this is a long, like, as in, I get your point about like, when are we going to get a bone thrown at us? But I'll give you an example. I'm sure when you talk to people, they say, oh, are you trying to get a gig at SEN one day? Or are you trying to get a gig on Fox Footy one day? I don't know what the answer is for three of you, but I know for me, my initial reaction is, why do I need to work for them? Like,
yeah, same.
What for? Like, what, to have a slot on Fox Footy and they tell me what I can and can't say? And they tell me, oh, don't swear on your fan cams, or like, I don't know. I guess it depends on each and every one of us and what we want to do. Like if we want to stay independent or if we want, like, whatever. And there's no right or wrong answer, but I think the bone that's been thrown is the one that we've created already. And I think when we get to year 10 and like the ones that have put in the work over the long period of time end up winning. Like you can create something quick and fast now. Just be controversial. Just talk shit. Just swear at your team.
Yep.
And yeah, mate, you'll go for it. You'll be popular. But like, what's the substance in that? Like, what if you're creating content based on a personality that's not yourself? Eventually, you're going to want to grow up and not be that person. But the tricky part is, so many people get caught up acting in a certain way, building an audience based on that character.
They're used to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I don't know, could be wrong, but I think we're only in year 6.
Yeah.
That's what I think, and it's only the beginning. You know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't ask that question in frustration. I'm just curious as to, you know, how much more can be created from our side, because you can only do so much until that door is open. And it wouldn't be a TV show or anything, because you look at AFTV, you look at Expressions, Oozing, even like they get that odd spot on Sky Sports. Even they do the fan debates in big games. So they, you know, they could easily do, and it's not like live TV. It's on their YouTube channels. They have got some significant audiences, right? So it is exposure for AFTV, Expressions. Mark Goldbridge is very, very good at what he does. I guess it's more going from, super fan to expert. Like, it's a broad term, right? Expert. You can be an expert about a lot of things in a lot of different ways. I get a lot of that. Oh, you're the Jake, you're the St Kilda super fan. It's like, yeah, I suppose so, but I
don't like that, by the way, when they called you that. I
hate that. I hate that. And I get that a lot. Jake, you're the Saints super fan. You're a mad fan. You're a crazy fan. You're a nuffy. It's like, yeah, but also that's a lot of fans, but also kind of takes away from what we're trying to do a little bit, because we're treating 100%. It seriously. A lot of us have quit our jobs. We are putting a lot of money and effort into this. Some, put money in that they don't have. It's like you got to go hard or go home with these sort of things. You don't half-ass these things, right?
Yeah.
You travel the world, you put everything on the line to make it happen. So then to then be labeled something like that, it's a bit condescending, And I'm just curious as to when we can kind of break that barrier and be like, you're not the nuffy in the crowd that just has a camera. We actually know what we're doing. We invest the time, we do our research, and we have really honest and open and knowledgeable conversations. That's kind of where I'm coming from anyway.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And I guess that can be a sort of a chat. This could be a whole nother hour chat where, you get it. We're doing, and I guess from a, not a selfish point of view, but my sort of point of view is like, we're doing a lot more than the other super fan who is. It's awesome that this guy has been to every single Collingwood home and away game. And I'm not trying to take flies, bro. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. Like, if someone calls me, I think when I was on the Age or something, they're like, oh, this is the biggest Collingwood fan. I'm like, and then people are like, oh, what about this guy who's been to every game for 70 years? So I didn't write that, man. Like they did. Like, I'm not trying to take away anything from anyone or put anyone sort of put down. That's awesome that you've been to every single Collingwood game for 70 years and you're a member for 110 years. I'm just doing my own thing. I'm paving my own way with a camera in front of me. You can do it too if you wanted to. And I think that's the beauty of what we're doing, where people might, I don't know if you guys get it as much as I do, but people might criticize what we do and stuff like that. But anyone can pick up a fan. I'm streaming this off my laptop, camera. Anyone can do this. I started on my laptop camera as well. Anyone can do this. You can create your own football channel and you can carve your own. If you don't like the way that I'm doing it, or the way that Jake's talking about the Saints, or everything that Terry's doing on Blue Abroad, which is just so much and incredible, do your own thing. You can. There's no rules. I'm not gonna cease and desist because you're talking about Collingwood. We've got 100,000 members, bro. Like, all of you can talk about Collingwood, man. Like,
do a swoop, Jake. Yeah, all right.
Swoop, Jake. Let's do it. That's the beauty of content creation. Like, everybody can do it, and the more the merrier.
Yeah, and it benefits the AFL too, doesn't it? I mean, it keeps everything relevant 10 times more than it would if we didn't exist.
What I found interesting lately is, I mean, I can only talk about it from the Carlton lens, obviously. 6 years ago, one of the biggest criticisms was that the club's not transparent with its fans. It doesn't engage with the fans. And to be honest, part of Blue Abroad's mission is to be a fan engagement platform and bridge the gap between fan and club and allow for that to get better. So 6 years ago, it was, we don't hear from our president, we don't hear from the board, we don't hear from the players, they don't talk to the fans, they talk to the media, blah, blah, blah. I reckon after I did George Hewitt, I did Lockie Fogarty, and then after Jordan Boyd, I started noticing something a little different. It was like, you're too positive. Are you working for the club?
Yeah.
And then it went from, we don't hear from the club to, you're a shill, essentially.
Yeah, I got that last week.
I thought that was so interesting. And then it kind of made me realize you can do whatever you want. You can provide whatever solution you want. Someone or a group of people out there are always going to think of negative intentions behind you. And it's just like, you can't please everyone. And, it is what it is.
We are who we are.
100%. And you're right. You're right, Terry. You see that. I see it all the time. It's crazy, man. They I don't know if they're just trying to sort of knock you down, but they don't see all the amount of work, especially you, Terry. You should be praised every single day for all the amount of work that goes into your channel and all the other shows that have just, fed off you as well, which is absolutely incredible. And when you see comments or hear stories like that, it just hurts a little bit. You go like, man, I'm doing this because I love it. Like, I'm trying to bridge this gap. I'm trying to help us, the club, you to be a part of the club. This is a journey I'm taking you on. I don't have to. I could just have this just to watch on my own TV screen, but I'm showing all of you. I'm asking you to submit your questions. I don't have to do that, So hearing that, it does hurt. It does hurt a little bit.
No, I mean,
it's all see it. But it's part and parcel, isn't it?
It's almost a compliment sometimes too, though, isn't it?
I think for me, and I'm sure this is for you guys too, like what I've realized lately in particular, like to have the trust of the club to let me talk to players, for example. When I first started, I didn't know what my voice was because I was just talking into a camera. I was like, all right, I'm influenced by AFTV, Barstool Sports, like the Carlton community and what I'm reading online. And so I was like, in between this, like trying to be funny, entertaining, angry, real, professional. Like it was like, I didn't know where it was. And so early on, it was just like screaming. Then I reflected, I watched, I got a little bit more mature and better. Then I realized at the end of the day, without our clubs, we don't exist to create these channels. So like there has to be a level of respect. There has to be. So that's the hard part, getting that point across in my experience.
Yeah.
Well said.
Awesome topic there to close it out.
Yeah. Wow. Are we done?
That was,
I don't want to go. I don't want to stop.
That was
great.
huge.
Time flew, man. Time absolutely flew.
4 awesome topics there.
It's been good.
We should make this weekly.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, eh?
What are you, Brad, baby?
I don't want to stop. No, I'm not stopping. You can't make me stop.
Hey.
What's everyone's game that they're looking forward to that's not their own game?
This weekend?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Hawks
great
North.
question.
Huge.
Yeah?
What was that?
Hawks North.
Yeah, just a free for all. I'm tempted to go. I'm doing nothing Sunday. I've got my AFL membership. I might scan and go top level and take some notes.
Yeah, nice.
Why Hawks North?
I was just joking, but
Oh, okay.
It was a funny joke.
I think every game honestly is a tricky one. Like this is probably the hardest round to tip. I think.
Yeah. I'm really keen on
50-50.
on Saints Doggies. I need to, especially with everything that's happened with Bevo and what the Doggies put up last week. I want to see if they sort of come back because surely Luke Beveridge is walking such a fine line at the moment.
Yeah, defo. Bevo is looking jaded. Like he isn't making sense in his press conferences anymore. But they struggle so much defensively, and they took the best key defender out of WA 2 years ago, Jed Buslinger. He hasn't even played a game yet. Like just small shit. Bailey Dale, what a gun he is. He isn't playing. Like I don't know. It looks like time for Bev to go. To be honest,
all their fans are saying drop Tim English this week. I'm like, really? You're playing Rowan Marshall. You're not dropping Tim English. No matter how bad he's going. You joking?
Yeah. Well, it was an
Right.
All-Australian ruckman, like 6 games.
You're not
ago.
losing Liberatore this week and then dropping Tim English off the back of that. You might as well put Bont in the ruck.
Yeah, Bevo probably would as well. That's the thing.
I hope he
He has.
does.
He has done that. I'm looking forward to see how GWS go off against Carlton. To be honest,
Oh, it's huge.
how are you, Carlton? Like, can you mix it with the big dogs, Carlton, or would you just bully us smaller clubs and rob from the poor? But no, honestly, keen to, like, GWS have been the most impressive side this year. So it's at Marvel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Actually, I might go to that. Yeah, is that sold out, Terry, or can I sneak
You
in?
want a ticket, mate? I'll find you a ticket if you like.
My membership will get me in as long as there's GA. I'll be in there.
Should be. It should be. I mean,
Be a ripper.
it'll be pretty packed out. I listen. Don't get me wrong. The Giants are awesome. They've been the most impressive. They've also played North Melbourne and West Coast in their games. So let's just cool it on the Giants. They're not.
Oh, this has got to be my topic for next week. But that's crazy, right? They're off a grand final by 1 point, and they get North and fucking West Coast. Are you joking?
Have you seen North Shore as
joking?
well? North have had like what? Carlton, Freo, Geelong.
Yeah.
They've had the toughest shore out of everyone.
It's
Along the way.
crazy.
Ours isn't far off. Thursday night's our first home game at Marvel. It's round 6. I mean, we
That's
sold the game to the
ridiculous.
Pies in round 2, but even then, we've played Geelong away, Collingwood, GWS away, Essendon Dogs. I mean, there's some tricky. We haven't had a North West Coast. We haven't had any bottom 3 teams yet.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Can't wait to play
That's
West Coast this
To
week.
answer your question, which game am I looking forward to that's not my own? I think I want to watch more than anything the first 25 minutes of West Coast Freo, because if it's a big if, but if Freo don't put West Coast away, I'd be very interested to see where that conversation goes, because they've been really good the last 2 weeks, and they've just been a little bit unlucky, a little bit their own fault, haven't been able to punish teams when they get the ball in hand. They've been so good at stoppage, and if you give West Coast a sniff, I don't know. I don't think it'll happen, but Freo, important.
I'm
game.
actually keen for it. Like Harley Reid coming into West Coast, like the derbies the last few years have just been like no one cares, but now Harley Reid's there, a bit more arrogant, so it'll be a bit of fire in this derby.
If you lose that, would that undo all of the good work of the first month of the season?
100%, without a doubt. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, it's massive. It's massive. Eagles at home. It'll be 55 to 60,000 there, especially off a win. West Coast fans like to show up when they win. But if we're up by 60 points at halftime, they'll probably be halfway back to Perth Underground, ready to go home. So
very exciting. Very, very exciting. Fine. We'll end it. Any last words from each of you before we head off?
just cheers for having me on, boys. This has been great. Keep doing it. You're gonna get better every week. So yeah, happy to hop on whenever you need me. It's been great fun.
Yeah,
keep at
we'll
it.
get you back. We'll get you
Thanks,
back.
mate.
Coming,
Sure.
mate. Yep.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been good fun, and make sure you everyone tunes in next Tuesday, 8 o'clock. New guests, new topics, and it's going to be a little bit more fun.
Oh, let us know in the comments. Who do you want as the
that's
next
a good one.
guest?
Oh, right.
They're all going to say Caden.
Never heard
Caden's
of
a sub. Jesse's a sub, already confirmed. It's just a matter of schedule.
Yeah.
Basically, if there's a favorite content creator that you want in the 4th slot, let us know. This was tough,
Who is
guys. I didn't have Pommy to back me up. Like, he's like, I feel more comfortable when Pommy's there. I was at her on my own tonight.
You don't have to. I'll get Cardman on then next week, and we'll double team. That's all right. Cardi's in the works. Yep.
Get Cardi in.
Yeah. Amazing. Gents, absolute pleasure. Best of luck this week. Yep, I'm not playing any of you guys. So best of luck this week.
Thanks, mate.
And see you next Tuesday, 8 p.m.
See you
Can't
next
wait.
Tuesday, guys.
Freo
Thanks,
Rob.
mate.